Hello and welcome back to Be a Quirky Writer. Now, for today's very special video, I have a very special topic planned. And since you already saw the title, you might have guessed what it is. That's right, we will be discussing the harem genre. You thought I was going somewhere else with this, didn't you? You degenerates, I know what you were thinking. Anyway, the harem genre, you know the trope by now. One male protagonist, a lot of female leads, everyone competing for best girl. There is some romance here and there is some lascivity and lewdness involved, there are a lot of accidents and mistakes and mishaps, and it's always for a good laugh and good fun, at least most of them. And before anyone calls me, I know, a misogynist, I will let you know that I'm considering the reverse harem as well within this genre. You have a lot of very good examples of that, such as Oran High School Club or Fruit Basket, for instance. Anyway, within this frivolous genre, there is still room to find something that's actually worthwhile, something good, something that either deconstructs the genre or uses the tropes wisely. Hence, why I wanted to make this video. Enjoy. So, first and foremost, you have to consider that during the 90s, very few anime series were actually sexualized. The intent was there without a doubt, but it was not possible to portray any sort of, let's just say, indecent behavior. That is why, back then, the harem genre was intertwined with various comedic tropes, a trait that partially remains still today. You know, the classic protagonist that just bumps into girls in very convenient ways, the incident of falling in very improbable positions, the oops, I entered the girls' dormitory or bathroom trope. That kind of thing. For crying out loud, it is why we still have the special hot spring and beach episodes. And speaking of hot springs, let's talk about Love, Hina. Love, Hina might not have been the first harem anime, but it certainly played an important role in its history. To put the plot in perspective, not only does Keitaro, the main protagonist, become the owner of an all-girl dormitory left to him by his dear old grandmama, but the dormitory itself also has its personal onset. So, a hot spring. Can confirm, the writer knew exactly what he was doing. Bear in mind that we are still between the end of the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s. So while we do have various quote-unquote embarrassing accidents, we also have a masterclass in hedging. Because that was the law back then. Kissing, utter taboo. Touching, strictly prohibited. Holding hands, maybe for several frames after 100 or so episodes. I'm obviously exaggerating here, but still, you get the picture. The ending of Love, Hina, manga-wise at the very least, however, gives us the happy ever after between Keitaro and Naru, with their marriage, I might add. It is still meant to be chaste. And speaking of pure, let me talk to you about Strawberry 100%. Now, this might be a bit of a niche series, but it is one that I remember reading fondly. There is a certain wholesome pureness that combines with coincidental perviness in Mizuki Kawashita's works. And I am biased here, of course, but it's always been something I adored in her writings. I mean, the protagonist from Strawberry 100% confesses his love while doing pull-ups to demonstrate his determination. And yes, it is just as corny as it sounds. While technically there is a happy ending involved, various fans at the time were not quite happy. In other words, the shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The best girl war has. Anyway, the years start passing by and the anime industry becomes bolder. The harem genre starts pushing the boundaries, trying to understand with how much it can get away with. I will say that it does so while also still trying to offer something more than mere fan service. Shuffle, for example, starts off as a light-hearted comedy with the occasional fan service, but towards the ending delves into issues related to social segregation and racism. The finale itself tends to be a little bit on the edgy side, but there is an intent behind the actions of the main characters. Similarly, Girls Bravo also tackled with issues of bullying and social anxiety in its own way. Maburaho, on the other hand, gave us a happily ever after that was unique to say the least. one that most harem anime never even dared to ponder. For a magic overflow related to the plot, the body of the main protagonist splits into 10 copies. In other words, every heroine had her very own happy ending, and then some, which I would say technically resolves the best girl conundrum. Next we have Nejima Magister Nejimaji, or any of the other 3 or 4 different iterations that we have at this point. It plays on the trope of the unexpected male protagonist. I mean, just look at the squirt. He is supposed to be one of the most powerful mages and looks and pretty much sounds just like a preschooler. I guess that the lesson here is not to judge a book by its cover. To be fair, the little dude achieved the Saitama sneeze. Just one sneeze is enough to shred every single item of clothing he has in front of him. And I mean every single one of them. Obviously, this reflects once again the category of embarrassing accidents. Another great example of unexpected main character is The World Only God Knows, which depicts a protagonist that has to save the heroines from demonic creatures by making them fall in love with him. How does he do so, you might ask? Well, pretty much he's a gamer who has played every single dating sim game available and predicts the best possible outcome based on that. The dude has basically a PhD in pattern recognition. He's not even there for love, he's just there proving statistics. Moving on, the quintessential quintuplets asks us the fundamental question, what would happen if the love interest of the main protagonist would be one out of 5 sisters that can on occasion be identical, hence the title. Don't ask, it's a whole thing. Pseudo-harem, on the other hand, asks if it is possible to have a harem anime with just one girl, by making her an actress and basically giving her a split personality disorder, I guess, hence the name. Again, don't ask, it's a thing. Anyway, these are just some of the examples of anime that took the harem genre and played with the tropes, subverting expectations and ultimately even creating new things. There is, however, a limit to how much it is possible to innovate. For this reason, we also have many examples of series who just gave into the lewd side and used fanservice as a selling point. Off the top of my head, some series that followed this route include Rosario plus Vampire, High School DxD, Trinity 7, Monster Musume, Magikoi, To Love Ru, and of course, To Love Ru Darkness, where the main selling point and the main premise was to create a harem for the protagonist, no strings attached. Regardless, I sit here and ask myself, how did we get from the absolute veto of even a kiss scene within a series to something I can only describe as I can't believe it's not censored? And I have to say, I don't believe that the explanation is as simple as saying that society has become more libertine or hedonistic. Shimoneta and Nukitashi, for example, each in their own way, use sex to depict a radically repressed society. Although the humor is greatly exaggerated, even grotesque for some, it is used to depict a modern-day socio-political dimension. God, at least I hope that that was the original intent. If not, it's bad. Like, really bad. And although I would like to end it here, there is one last thing that I feel I must talk about. So there's this series called The 100 Girls That Really Love You. And I'm not even kidding, that's the title right there. To condense the premise, the god of love fucked up, so you have one male protagonist who will eventually have 100 girlfriends. And last time that I checked, he was on girl 25 or something like that. The mad lad is achieving the ultimate harem manga. There is, however, something to be said here. In spite of the stupidity of the premise and the lewdness of the manga itself, there is some amount of care and dedication to this trope, although a bit overplayed here and there. The manga insists that the love between the main protagonist and the heroines is pure, and I tend to believe it, and here's why. This is a panel from the manga where the main protagonist explains why he loves the girls he is dating, enumerating the various quirks and traits he finds appealing. The page has a comedic intent, obviously, but also doesn't shy away from depicting the corny side of love. My dude over here is not simply saying that he loves these girls. He is handing them a full 5-page essay on the reasons of love. The manga didn't have to go this hard, but it chose to do so regardless. Now don't get me wrong, the series is still horny AF. But hey, at least it's a wholesome kind of horny. And after having actually said that with a straight face, no I didn't, I am actually on my 10th take for that part, I will leave you to whatever it is you are doing. Don't forget to breathe, don't forget to smile. Until next time.